Welcome to FHN. I'm pleased today to be able to talk a little bit about our mission and our vision and our delivering excellence journey. But before I do that, I'd like to acknowledge all of you for being here. You've come through a long journey and path through an interview and selection process, and I know that you're highly qualified and highly skilled individuals, and so I'm excited about you joining us. I'm sorry I can't be there with you in person to welcome you, but I look forward to meeting each and every one of you, and more importantly, hearing about the good work that you're doing. My name is Mark Ridley. I'm the President and CEO of FHN, and I've been with FHN for just over 6 years at the time of this video. Prior to being with FHN, I worked for Aurora Healthcare, which is a large medical healthcare system in Wisconsin, and prior to that time I worked in independent practices as well as the U.S. Army as a medic and a nurse. And I've always been closely tied to caregivers as well as administrative type of models of care and blended the two. And it's been a very worthwhile and fulfilling journey and career for me, and I hope you find that here as well. FHN is a wonderful place to be, and it's a great place to work. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we do and who we are. And so as you begin your journey with FHN, you'll hear a lot more about our pride standards, and you'll hear a lot more about AIDIT plus promise and commitment, but I'm going to give you a brief overview of that. So as we talk about our pride standards, it's really about how we interact with one another and also our patients. So the P in pride stands for being patient-centered, and the R stands for respect, dignity, and compassion. The I is being innovative, and the D is for delivering excellence, which we'll talk about a bit more. And most importantly is the E, because that's about you and it's about being engaged. And so we really need you to help us make this a better place for our patients, for each other, but more importantly, as we talk about patients, it's really about our families and the people that we're caring for. We'll hear a lot more about AIDIT as a way of talking with each other and having a set format or an evidence-based practice on how we can help people understand better what we're asking for and also get more information from them to decide how well we can help them. So AIDIT stands for acknowledge, introduce, duration, explanation, and thanks. Once again, you'll hear more about that as you go through your onboarding. We add a plus promise or commitment so that people know that when we say something to them, we're going to deliver on that brand promise and get back to them right away. So as we move to our delivering excellence structure, what you'll see in front of you is a slide that represents the format of FHN. And it's built together with columns and pillars, and what the pillars are doing is they're upholding our vision. And what our vision is really healthcare excellence for all of our communities. And at the very foundation of that is our mission as an organization. And FHN, together with those we serve, improves the health and provides superior quality healthcare services. Respect, dignity, and compassion guide our interactions, while leadership and wise stewardship of our resources direct the process. We're able to fulfill that mission by following our strategic pillars of exceptional people, of which many of you are a part of, exceptional care, which is talking about our quality and our outcomes, our community benefits, so what are we really doing to contribute to the overall betterment of our communities, and then of course financial stability and sustainability. These put together give us both purpose, worthwhile work, and the ability to make a difference. And the way that we make a difference is through our tactics. And we measure our tactics through our people, customer service, quality, community, finance, and then also growth. A team that you have to support you is our FHN Network Executive Team, sometimes referred to as NET. And I want to be clear that as a leadership team, you're not here to work for us, but we're here to work for you. And our job is to be able to support you in your roles in providing excellent care. So that team is in this organizational structure, which you'll see. At the top of this structure, or at the helm of this structure, is myself, and I certainly don't do this work alone. I do that with an entire team of qualified leaders to help guide, to direct, and to advise me. I work very closely with Dr. Robert Geller, who is the president of our medical staff, and he works very closely with our clinicians in helping us improve quality, service, and then also making sure that it's really a good place for physicians and nurse practitioners and other providers to want to come and work. I don't expect you to memorize all of these names and faces, and we put them out there just so that you could be familiar with folks that you'll see through your orientation, but more importantly, folks that you'll see walking through the halls or at your clinic or in the areas that you work, so when they stop by to say hello, you'll know who they are. And of course, they should be introducing themselves as well, and feel free to reach out to anyone on this chart. Let's talk a little bit about why we do what we do. And really, it gets to the heart of the matter of we're all here to help others, and it's about making a difference, it's about purpose, and it's about worthwhile work. And so you'll see our healthcare flywheel. We've partnered with the Studer Group, who are leading industry experts in improving not only quality outcomes, but also caregiver engagement, or making it a good place to work, as well as building on our community benefit. So how do we have those healthy outcomes and a well community to work with? And those are based on certain principles, and these principles are evidence-based. So when they're applied appropriately, what they do is they drive our pillar results. And our pillar results are measures or metrics of how we're doing. And when we see those going up, we know that that helps to feed our passion. And our passion to do good and to help others continues to drive those principles. And so that flywheel works together in unison. And if we had animation, it would actually be in motion. And so you're very much a part of the fuel for this flywheel as we move forward with what we do. And I'm going to talk a little bit now about our culture of delivering excellence. And in this next slide, you'll see some of our caregivers that are actually working with a patient. And our delivering excellence is really about an alignment of our actions and accountability. And delivering excellence provides a framework for how we make good on that. It allows us to reward staff members for the work to be productive and allowing them again to make a difference. It allows our providers to practice medicine effectively, and most importantly, it provides safe and compassionate, high quality care for, again, I'll say patients, but really their family members. As we approach this, we approach it with creating value with courageous kindness. This means that we have to deliver on our patient outcomes, the experience and safety, by balancing the price paid by all purchases of care. And so that would include our employers, the patients themselves, insurance companies, and then just who we are as a system. So we have to care enough about keeping each other safe, holding ourselves accountable, having constructive coaching conversations, and really importantly is complimenting each other frequently. I don't think you can ever hear too many good things in the day. And that's part of the way we are able to make some of those difficult decisions, is because we know we're making those difficult decisions for the right reasons. And we always want those to be constructive and empowering and for doing things better. We place a strong focus on celebrating all of our caregivers, and regardless of what your job title is, you are a caregiver because you're helping us deliver an end product to very important people. We must engage all of our talent in role modeling our pride standards and fostering a welcoming environment, and also being innovative and being able to flex for change. So we continue to do this through our strategic imperatives. I'm going to talk a little bit about those of standardization, transformation, and cultural alignment. What does delivering excellence look like? Well, we know that we're delivering excellence when we're looking at our quality results. I'm very proud of the work that so many of the teams here do because we do have stellar quality results. There's always an opportunity for improvement, and we're going to continue to pursue that. But at the same time, this is what validates. We don't want to think or guess that we're doing well. We want to be able to have well-defined metrics and measurements that affirm the work that we're doing. More importantly, the work that you're going to be doing. We look at patient and staff safety. We always want to make sure that there is a degree of comfort and that people feel safe in the environments in which we're providing care. We know it not only makes it easier for us to do our work, but it also improves the outcomes for our patients. Our patient experience should be second to none. Again, as we think about patients as being our family members, we really want the best for our family. And if it's not good enough for your family or my family, how could it be good enough for anybody else's? So as we focus on patient experience, we want to make sure we keep that out in front of us. Our FHN is our electronic health record, and it's really a key to being able to communicate and coordinate the care that we're able to provide. An example of that is a patient recently went to the emergency room and received great care by one of our emergency room physicians. When that patient returned to their physician, who was out in one of our rural practices, the rural practice physician was able to see exactly what happened in that emergency room, so he could pick up without missing a beat in coordinating that patient's care. Subsequently, in a meeting shortly thereafter, I remember the emergency room physician having a conversation with the primary care physician, and the primary care physician thanking the emergency room physician for the work that he did and being able to see what was done, because now together working as a team, they were really able to coordinate a good outcome for that patient. And so our FHN allows us to communicate with patients and also each other almost seamlessly. Staff engagement, nothing happens here without you. And so we need you to be part of the process, not part of a product. And being part of the process means continually to refine and to evolve and to make things better. And you need to have that ownership in being able to drive that forward. I've shared many times that any organization is not bricks and mortars or the latest technology. It's really about the people that are serving that organization. So we need you to help us with that. Transformation is something that we should continually be doing. And when we assess the Merriam-Webster's definition of transformation, it's usually to change something for the good, and that's what we want to continue to do. It's just always trying to change things for the better. Some of the things that are examples of transformations are the excellence that we can demonstrate at FHN. We moved quickly to single patient rooms because we knew that that would be a much more beneficial healing environment for our patients and satisfier. We have an electronic ICU, which allows us to have remote access to high-quality skilled intensivists at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. We were one of the first to partner with the University of Wisconsin on this model, and actually the first in the state of Illinois to actually do it. TruD is an ultraviolet disinfectant or sterilizing technology without using chemicals. It uses ultraviolet light to be able to obliterate germs and bacteria to make sure that people don't leave the hospital with anything that they didn't come here with, such as an infection. Our Arctic Sun is an innovative program where we take patients that are demonstrating stroke symptoms or going into stroke failure. We can decrease their body temperature to slow any of that damage that's occurring and then slowly bring them back out of that decreased status or stasis to hopefully increase the improvement of their healing and slow down any of the detrimental effects of that stroke. That's not for everybody, and it's a very innovative technique to help the most severe cases. Consumer Reports has rated us as in the top 3 of safest hospitals in the state of Illinois, and we're very proud of that. But we're not proud of that because of the hospital. We're proud of that because it shows the commitment that all of our caregivers have to really keeping people safe. Leapfrog has rated us with an A rating, which is a top rating that we can attain. Our cath lab remains on the top 10%, not just in the state, but throughout the nation, so we're very proud of that fact. And we're also the largest employer in the region, which means that we have a lot of responsibility to our local economies. So again, as I mentioned, delivering excellence and transformation at FHN, it's really focusing on we will transform healthcare with focused and sustainable improvements throughout FHN. We're doing this to ensure that our FHN is positioned to fulfill our mission of improving health, providing superior quality healthcare services while proactively preparing for the changing landscape in the healthcare environment for our communities and overall well-being. And so FHN is continually transforming healthcare for our communities. So your role in all of this as a team member is to remember that we all have 2 jobs. The first job is to do the work that we were employed to do, and the second job is to improve our work, which means looking at how do we do it better, how do we do it differently, how do we continue not just to do what we're told, but to do what the right thing is. Be the difference and help us become a better place to receive and provide care for all of us. When we talk about our execution framework, or how do we deliver on delivering excellence, I talked a little bit about the results and we look at our metrics and how we quantify things. This is really a step-by-step approach of how do we make sure we're taking a disciplined, rigorous approach to improving our leadership. And so we start by aligning all of our goals throughout the organization and match those up to what kind of behaviors are going to help us attain those goals, or align behaviors. And then when we look at those behaviors, how do we create processes surrounding those behaviors? So by aligning our goals, aligning our behaviors, and aligning our processes, this allows us to execute on our leadership framework. There are 9 principles that we commit to as leaders and will ask for you to commit to as staff, which is 1, of course, is committing to excellence, to measuring the important things, building a culture around service, create and develop great leaders, focus on employee satisfaction, build individual accountability, align behaviors with goals and values, communicate at all levels of the organization, and recognizing and rewarding success. So we talk about these 9 principles. If you don't see those occurring, it's something that we need to continue to work on as an organization. You should recognize and be able to identify those as you move through your journey, especially in the early weeks. So I ask you to keep an eye out for specific examples of each one of these principles. As we talk about healthcare excellence, we can't do it without the right tools. And that's once again where our FHN comes in. What we were looking to do is to make the system that was more efficient, more coordinated, and much more personalized. During the RFHN journey, we had over 200 of our own caregivers engaged in building and developing the product. It was an incredible effort, and I can't tell you how enthused I am to see the results of everybody's individual contribution to that. Through many hours of people that actually work at the bedside or in the offices or in the business environment, they designed this system not only to be efficient for themselves, but more importantly to be able to provide a benefit to our families and making sure that that communication was going to be seamless. This also helps lay the framework and foundation for what we're going to build on into the future, where we start talking about getting involved in community wellness, population health, and delivering on business and clinical analytics. So once again, you'll hear more about RFHN during your onboarding process. So some of the basics at FHN are elevator etiquette, and that's a simple thing. If you see a patient and a bunch of staff are on the elevator, we need to step off to allow that patient and family to get on that elevator. The patient always comes first. Privacy, we need to uphold and protect the privacy of our patients and their families. With sensitive medical information, you'll hear a lot more about that. Keep your eyes open for anything that might be jeopardizing somebody's safety. If you see something, say something, or more importantly, try and correct it if you can. We need to take this sense of ownership in order to make sure we maintain our status as one of the safest hospitals in the state. Our 10-5 rule is really when you come within about 10 feet of somebody, they're walking down the hall or within your environment, is engage them, look at them in the eye, acknowledge them as another human being. When you get to about 5 feet, just a friendly greeting of how are you, or good to see you, or is there anything I can help you with if you realize it's a patient that may be looking for help. Oftentimes, people don't speak up or are proactive about asking for help, but when you create that opening of asking them how they're doing, it leads you to be able to better meet their needs or to help them. What it also does is it allows us to get a little bit more familiar with one another. So as you see familiar faces and you greet one another moving back and forth throughout our halls, it's much easier when you actually have to have a conversation because you've already established a relationship. So that 10-5 rule is really important in helping us create a welcoming environment. As we look at our appearance, we want to make sure we're maintaining a professional appearance and that people have confidence in us and they're not hesitant to be able to communicate or to talk to us just because of what we may look like. We want to make sure that we are professional and that we're open and welcoming to all. Communication is 2 ways always. It's not the person talking, it's also the person listening. And we're constantly shifting back and forth between those roles. And so as we talk about communication, that's just not a one-way conversation. So if you have recommendations on how we can do that better, we want to continue to learn. But keeping that in the foremost of our thoughts when we're trying to communicate an idea or a topic is being sure that we're actively listening as well as actively speaking. Our commitment to our coworkers, we have very difficult, challenging jobs in healthcare. And so we need to be there for one another, and we need to be supporting one another during those tough times, but also during the really good times. And so a commitment to a coworker is caring enough to demonstrate that courageous kindness. And if you see something where they have an opportunity to improve, have that conversation. They're probably going to be much more receptive hearing it from you as opposed to waiting to hear it from a leader or a supervisor. And vice versa, a commitment to your coworker is again caring enough to make that comment regardless of the person's title or status. If you see me walking through the halls and I'm not demonstrating any of the behaviors that I'm supposed to be demonstrating, I hope you call me out on it, because the worst thing that's going to happen to you is I'm going to tell you thank you for helping me become better. So thinking about that commitment, we need to do that for one another. So you may have heard the saying that attitude is everything. And it's not always everything, but it's a key component of how we live our life and how we go through our day. We spend a lot of time, energy, and effort here at work doing very difficult tasks, but very worthwhile tasks. How we deliver on our duties, regardless of what that duty is heavily influenced with our attitude. And the better our attitude, usually the better the work product or the outcome is. So I'd encourage to keep a positive attitude, the way that we address problem solving, and the way that we engage with one another. People much more enjoy being around somebody who's uplifting. So as we think about our attitudes, we always want to keep them elevated whenever possible. As we think to customer waiting is something that happens regardless of whether we want it to or not. We may not always be able to get back to somebody in real time, or we may not always be able to see them in real time. But what we can do is to commit to them and keep them updated on a regular basis on when we will be able to get back to them or when we will be able to see them. And so this isn't just about our patients, this is about interacting with one another as well. So we want to make sure that we cover all of those basics here at FHN. I'll wrap up by saying that I'm so glad that you're here, because FHN really is not made of buildings or technology. It's built by the compassion, the skills, and the engagement of all of our people. And that means you. So thank you in advance for your commitment to delivering excellence, for doing worthwhile work with passion, and for choosing FHN as your way of making a difference this year. If you ever need to get a hold of me, you have many ways of being able to contact me. You can stop by the office. I have an open door policy, and if I'm available, I'm happy to talk to anybody. It's located in administration on the first floor. If you'd like to call me, my extension is 6769, and my email is mgridley@fhn.org. And there's also a link on our FHN intranet where if you wanted to submit feedback to me confidentially, you would be able to do that. If you were expecting a response, you have to put your name in there, because otherwise I have no way of knowing where it came from. And I encourage you to put your name in there because it helps me if I have clarifying questions or even being able to provide you some direct feedback on your comments. So once again, welcome to FHN. It's an amazing place to be.